All right, welcome back to Halftime. We're here today with Andre Rochester, also known as Dre B Paintin, no G on the end. Um, Artist extraordinaire in the Hartford area and beyond, educator, program facilitator. I'll let you take the rest.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
First of
of
all,
course, of
this
course.
this
Thanks
is
for coming.
dope. I've been really looking forward to this interview.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, so like you just said, Andre Rochester, Dre B Paintin. I'm an artist first. I'm a painter by trade, and then I do curation, artist coaching. I facilitate a fellowship for artists. I teach at Tunxus Community College as an advanced drawing teacher, and I have my own art consulting business where I work on art programs, development, art project developments, and a number of other things, including speaking engagements, workshops, et cetera, et cetera. There's a long list of stuff that I do.
Busy guy.
Yeah, my name really should be Dre be doing the most because I really do be doing the most.
That's not a bad thing, though. It's not a bad thing. So we're going to get into all that and break it all down and figure out what all that means.
Yeah.
We were just talking off camera. Dre B Paintin.
Mhm.
How'd that come about?
So it actually started as a joke. So I was just being funny on Facebook, and just changed my name from my regular name to Dre B Paintin, and then it caught on, and people started actually calling me Dre B Paintin. This has happened once before in my life. Okay, when I was at UConn, I was calling myself Young Picasso.
Okay.
I pledged to fraternity, became an alpha in spring '04, and then people all around campus started calling me Picasso for real.
So, all right.
And that name stuck for a very long time. I had no problem with it. I mean, I started it, but yeah, right. So here I am, some years later, changing my name on Facebook to Dre B Paintin, and I'm just being funny. Next thing you know, it's like a brand.
Yeah.
So it's Dre B Paintin on Instagram too, and yeah, I just stuck with it, man. I just stuck with it.
I mean, it's straightforward. There's no mistaking, when you what you do, right? Where'd you grow up?
Right here in the Hartford area. I'm from Greater Hartford. Okay. I was born here in Hartford. I lived on the North End for 7 years, moved out to Manchester, and then to East Hartford, and then back to Hartford.
Okay. Now, I know you're running around doing everything that has to do with art, being an artist extraordinaire, like I said. But were you doing this? How long have you been doing this? I know you're doing art for a long time, but was this your main job?
No.
All the way through?
No. So I've been a professional artist for 18 years, but throughout that time, I've held different jobs. I've worked in manufacturing. I've worked in corporate America for about roughly 9 years. I did, the typical 20-something-year-old retail job. I did regular jobs. I did regular work, but art has always been a second career. It has always been the thing that I identify myself as. And everything that I did for like a regular job has always been a way to fund my passion.
Yeah.
Like if it wasn't going to help me move myself forward with my creative stuff, I wasn't really interested in doing it. It came to a point where my corporate life, my corporate job was no longer serving its purpose. And it actually got in the way of me doing some cool projects as an artist that were going to be lucrative for me.
Okay.
And so I had to make some decisions.
Got it. And how long ago? It sounds like there was a recommitment to commitment to full art. How long ago was that?
So this was literally my last day in corporate America was New Year's Eve 2021.
Okay.
I had about 2 weeks for a break where nothing happened. And I was scared and worried. And then the floodgates opened in the second week of January 2022. And I've been going nonstop pretty much ever since.
Yeah.
And what's cool about this is everybody thought that I was a full-time artist already.
Okay.
There was that assumption because of how hard I went with my art, despite of all the other stuff that I was doing professionally.
So folks were already following you.
It was very clear what my purpose really is.
Okay. All right. So it must feel good to be fully immersed without, it's not your second passion,
No, this is the happiest time of my life.
That's great. I know there was a rough patch there. You have a pretty significant story, right? You want to explain that?
So in 2023, I ended up in hospital. I went in for really basic surgery, and it was supposed to be kind of an in and out outpatient kind of thing. There would have been some healing after the surgery, of course, but um, pretty much the surgery went well, but my transition into recovery did not.
Okay.
Uh, at some point, my body decided it wasn't ready to breathe, and I gasped for air. And instead of oxygen, my lungs filled up with fluid, and they
Were
couldn't
you
stop it.
conscious during that?
No,
Okay.
no, I was like literally coming out of surgery
Got it.
and still, relatively sedated, I guess. Where they would needed to sedate me again because of what was going on, and my lungs collapsed.
Wow.
And in order to stabilize me, I needed to be put into a coma. And basically, I started at one hospital and ended up at another one where I woke up 4 days later.
Wow.
And I found out that I almost died.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the short version of the story.
Yeah. I've read quite a bit. It's pretty significant. How does that change things for you, both just personally, in terms of your art?
So I'll put it to you like this. I decided that I was going to fully walk in my purpose New Year's Eve 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked away from a 6-figure salary, comfortable kind of situation. And I dove headfirst into the arts. I was already living out my purpose and doing what I'm passionate about.
Right.
When I almost died and woke up in that hospital and heard what happened during that time, I was unconscious and in this coma. And while I'm down healing from the surgery, it's like I now have an even bigger battery in my back, and all it does is recharge.
That's awesome.
I can't stop.
That's a good thing.
Like that's the real talk. I can't stop.
Yeah. How does it come out in your art, in terms of the art you produce?
So for the art that I produce, I did make a series of work based off of a near-death experience that I had while in the hospital, and I interpreted that.
Okay.
That was my way of processing what I went through, dealing with these visions that I had after I woke up, and also kind of putting the story together. There's what was happening on the outside, but there's also what happened on the inside as well. And so as an advocate for mental health, I used art for therapy.
Got it.
And I shared that story recently in a solo exhibit at a place called the Table and Gallery in New Haven, where the 5 pieces in that series were on display, and I got a chance to tell the story, and that gave me some closure and some healing from this. I originally thought I was going to do a much larger thing with it and turn it into a really big solo show in a gallery that was far larger than the space that I was in. But this opportunity came up, and I had the chance to do it during the month that would have been the 2-year anniversary of everything that happened. So I was shooting for the 3-year anniversary because numerology, 3, blah blah blah, right? But for me, it was 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you feel like that was enough public processing through that.
Yeah, what I realized is I needed a space to kind of exhale, tell the story, express myself, and kind of get it out. I mean, mentally, I'm still processing things. Like you almost lose your life, and you find out that way. It is a very traumatic thing to go through. It's very traumatic for my family, right? So there's still things that I'm working through with regards to what happened. But if I do more paintings related to this, and it most likely will be, it's not going to be with the intention of creating a show out of it like I did.
Okay.
Because I've accomplished that, and I feel like I can move on.
Okay.
Now it's just creating things based off of the visions that I had, but also maybe sending different types of messages, right? Creating more spiritual work.
Understood. So you mentioned mental health, being an advocate for mental health. And it's just a revolutionary act these days that men are talking about that, especially Black men, talking about mental health. We know it's important, but let's talk about it, right? In case folks haven't been involved in the conversation. Why is it important to you? In what ways have you participated in the advocacy side of things?
So during my time in corporate America, I knew I didn't belong.
Right.
And I was dealing with basically an internal struggle of not going down a path that I knew was for me, but also the necessity of being in that space. It was not a good environment for me. I don't think it was a good environment for a lot of people. But that's
Right.
a different kind of conversation.
Right.
But with that came depression and anxiety.
Okay.
I was not being fully myself. And I'm the type of person who needs to show up 100% who I am.
Understood.
And what COVID did was it forced me to be home, and my studio was 10 feet away from where I was working. So I started to make some changes.
Yeah.
I started to grow my hair out because I couldn't go to the barber.
Right,
It was
right.
COVID, right?
Yeah,
so I grew my hair out
That's my
as a
girl,
way.
too.
It was as a way to embrace myself again, return to who I want to be, what I want to look like, and all that, right? Because I wish somebody would tell me how to act and look in my home.
Right.
Must be crazy,
Yeah.
right? So there is that part of it, but there was also the anxiety of being in a place, and like I would have panic attacks and I didn't know what it was.
I was going to ask you that. Did you know what was happening? Did you know
I had no clue.
that this was depression and anxiety? I've experienced the same thing.
I knew it was depression. I know what depression looks like and feels like. I dealt with that for a lot of my life.
Okay.
From some childhood experiences. So I knew what depression is. The anxiety piece I didn't understand.
Right.
And I put two and two together after I removed myself from the environment that was giving me the anxiety.
Right.
There were times, a lot of times, where I would be like really nervous and sweating and just like not myself and really like worked up, and it would just be a meeting.
Right.
Now, granted, these were meetings with executives, but none of these folks gave me anything to be scared of, and they were very approachable. So there should not have been any reason why I was feeling that way in these spaces with those people who did not present themselves as people you need to be that way with.
Right.
And that's when I realized, okay, I removed myself from that environment, and now these episodes have gone away.
Right.
I can go talk to leadership anywhere now. I talk to executives any point and have a basic conversation like me and you are having right now, because they're just humans. But that space, me not being who I am and me knowing that I didn't belong there, that's the thing that was the problem.
Right.
And so I had to go and do what I needed to do for me. Right. Now, there's also going to therapy, right? I have a therapist. I have no problem talking about going to therapy because I think everybody needs one. Everybody is going through something. Everybody got something to deal with.
Life is hard.
Exactly. So, I believe in counseling. I go to counseling. I actually see my therapist bi-weekly. He used to be weekly for almost 2 years. And I've used my own artwork to present about depression and anxiety.
Okay.
In 2019, I did an event that a friend of mine put together where it was actually called A Little Bit of Death, and it's about transitions and changes in life. Okay. And we were presenting on things that we would like to put to death. And for me, it was the depression and anxiety in my life. Little did I know that was about to happen within the next 2 years from doing that event. But I spoke about a specific piece. Experience. No, with me making the transition out of corporate America.
Got it. Okay.
So I presented on a specific piece called Blind to It All. It's a self-portrait. It's me blindfolded. The background is this kind of like ugly yellow color, and then there's like turquoise at the bottom. I'm painted in black and white. The blindfold is red.
Okay.
Blind to It All is all about that emotional struggle that you're dealing with, blinding you. Right? That's what that blindfold represents. Me being black and white isn't me not seeing myself how other people see me. I'm not seeing my own light because I'm blind.
Got it.
And we have to do the work to remove that blindfold so that we can see our true selves for who we really are.
Wow.
Therefore, getting your color back. The yellow is kind of a sickly type of yellow.
Yeah.
it's not intended for you to get any type of joy seeing this ugly yellow color. The turquoise is peace. Now, depending where you are in your journey, you either see the yellow washing out the peace, or you see the peace rising.
Okay. Depending on how you're looking at it.
Depending on how you're looking at it, depending on what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Right.
It makes me wonder, as we all start, as Black men start talking about mental health more, it makes me think about the elders, the OGs, the older men we grew up around, and what they may have been struggling with. That it wasn't part of their vocabulary,
Right.
it wasn't part of their thought process. It wasn't allowed, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, they didn't necessarily allow us that space. But it makes me think back to certain incidents or conversations or interactions where how would it have been different if this was an acceptable conversation like we're having right now?
For them, it's survival.
Right.
They come from a different time.
Yeah.
A tougher time than most people have, and I think that their stoic nature and the lack of emotion, especially among Black men of a certain age, that is because they were raised to at least portray themselves to be tough, right?
Yeah.
And to not be someone to be messed with, because once you show some kind of perceived weakness, then you get taken advantage of. People will try to cause harm to you. All right. There's a number of factors at play. That's not to say that those things don't exist now, but it's just more acceptable to own your story and to tell it.
Right.
And the bravest thing you can do is be vulnerable.
Right. When I first experienced anxiety and all those things, first of all, I remember calling my mother because she's a nurse, and saying, "Ma, it feels like I'm running up the street, but I'm laying here watching TV. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm out of breath. My neck, I keep going like this because my neck was like the heartbeat, And she identified it. She said that's what it is. And then, after it happened a few times, I looked into it. I think about somebody told me, about the stigma. The way to think about it is if you broke a bone, if you pulled a ligament, whatever, you would get that treated, right? It's the same with mental health, right? And I find that very interesting. A way to look at it. Why would you leave that alone?
So it's a fracture in your mind.
Right. Let's talk about some of the 1,000 initiatives that you have going on. I know you just got a pretty significant grant award from Hartford Foundation.
Yeah.
You explain what that's all about?
Yeah. So Artists of Color Accelerate Fellowship is a program that I run here at the 224. It's been around. It originally started with an initiative that began in 2021. It started with a landscape study that Hartford Foundation conducted, really to kind of gauge where the community was in terms of support for artists of color. A lot of the complaints that we've had, and a lot of the obstacles that we've described, were now statistically supported. Go figure. We'll complain about something real, right?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought that we're telling the truth when we all have the same complaint, right?
Yeah.
So the Artists of Color Unite Advisory Council came from that.
Okay.
Artists of Color Unite formed a partnership with the 224 through one of its members, which was the CEO at the time here, Shelley Best. That partnership led to the creation of two programs: the Artists of Color Accelerate Fellowship and Independent Artist Fund, which was a grant-making fund that was designed specifically to give grants to artists who either don't normally get that type of support or have never gotten that type of support.
Okay.
And both programs basically thrived. I was a part of the initial cohort of AOCA. So I'm not just the executive director. Well, we're gonna put that in the air. it's really program director, but
okay. Call it executive.
Right. For this purpose, we're gonna say executive. But I'm also a client, right?
Okay.
I came through the program at the time I was transitioning out of corporate America.
Okay.
I found out that I was, accepted into this thing, and I was offered the opportunity to take over as the program manager while in the program, because there was a transition that happened here. Shelley moved on to another organization.
Okay.
And she entrusted me with AOCA. And I had to do it scared because I did not know what I was getting into. I had never led a program before or anything like that. But I was entrusted with this opportunity to take it on and basically, continue to build it up.
Wow.
And so I started with finishing cohort 1 and making some changes immediately that were going to enhance the program for us who were in it.
Okay.
But taking the lessons learned and also having learned what was happening behind the scenes and what the obstacles were and what that journey was like, I took it to cohort 2, and we didn't change like the majority of the program, but what we did was we took a skeleton, we put some meat on the bones.
Okay.
Cohort 3, we took those improvements, continued it, made a couple tweaks here and there. And now as we prepare for cohort 4, we're moving forward with a promise from Hartford Foundation of $1 million over the next 2 years.
Wow.
Which guarantees that we can have a minimum of 3 cohorts going forward.
That's amazing. Congratulations. That's a big accomplishment. I just want to backtrack a little bit. You mentioned fear, right? So obviously when we make these transitions, there's new things that we encounter, new positions we find ourselves in. Like you said, you found yourself behind the scenes and learning things, and you operated scared, right? That's something that holds most people back. I know, in the transition I'm making, there's days I have to check myself, like, you got to confront that fear. How are you able to overcome that?
So my corporate career began with a position that I was not qualified for.
Okay.
I was either going to be laid off because I worked in the shop floor, setting up machines and moving shipments. I used to drive a fork truck and all that stuff, right?
Okay.
I either was going to be laid off because I was one of the lowest men on the totem pole in this union shop, or I needed to transition to the salary side of the business and find myself an office job. There were 2 jobs posted. I wasn't qualified for either of them, but I had some college at the time. I didn't even have my bachelor's degree finished at the time.
Got it.
That job actually is the reason why I was able to finish my bachelor's degree. But when I got hired, I had a panel of 8 people that I had to present in front of and basically give a PowerPoint presentation about why I should be hired.
Okay.
And they hired me as an internal quality auditor. I knew nothing about auditing, but I knew a little bit of something about quality because I was doing quality inspections on products. So I could make the connection and I had an understanding of what they may be looking for. I learned how to audit on the fly, pretty much figuring it out because the previous person did not leave anything behind for me to learn from. So I was the guy that was disrupting somebody else's job, right? People I did not know. Now I'm walking up in their department and I have to tell them that they're not following process, or I got to tell them, something may not look right or so on and so forth, right? So the perception is that the auditor is coming in to tell you you're not doing a good job. That's really not how auditing works, but it feels like it, right? But that's another discussion. But anyway, I had to learn how to do that. I didn't actually get training on how to be an auditor until almost 2 years into working that job. So, thankfully I was doing most of it right, but I ain't get certified for a while. And so I was scared doing that job. I was fearful of, I might lose my job and have to settle for a position somewhere that's going to pay me significantly less than what I was already making. And I'm just now getting on my feet. When I started that role, I had $10 to my name.
Wow. So you were in jeopardy potentially of losing your job no one ever trained you for in the first place. And
nobody ever trained me for the job I had before that either. So
the crazy thing about that, and I'm talking like the radical educator that I am, decolonize education, shout out to Shauna Brown, teach for the culture. Um, so just looking at that, I mean, the way we learn, no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
is by doing.
Right.
No matter how many
Right.
degrees, no matter how many bureaucratic hurdles we put in front of folks, I can't. You couldn't tell me how to be a great painter.
Mm.
Yeah, I have to do it.
You gotta do the work.
Right. So it's funny that, not funny. It's kind of tragic that in the world of even corporate America, we are still, need to be creative and build things. That there's so much fear and anxiety around not knowing how to do a job you never did before.
And then they expect perfection from you,
Right.
something that doesn't even exist.
Seems like a scam.
It is. It absolutely is.
That's why everybody
totally a scam.
everybody I know is running away from that lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I mean, I even find it in our school districts and our education world. But that's a story for another time. What else you got going on? You listed so many things I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about this stuff for hours and hours.
So talk about what's going on right now.
Right now, I'm in my first semester of teaching at a community college. Okay. This is a very, very big moment for my career because, like, we checking life goals off the list. Yeah. Okay, I've always wanted to teach collegiate level art classes. I've always wanted to be in this type of environment because my passion is developing emerging artists. I live for that. So whatever success that I have, the whole point is to take that success and reach back and pull somebody with me. Okay. Now I have a class of 14 students who I could absolutely do that with, so long as they do the work and they express the interest. Right? I'm tapping into the crowd that I want. But I'm also doing something that I knew I could do.
Did you have finally associated with it?
I had none.
None. Because you visualized it. You knew you were going to be that.
I have had this vision in my mind of being a college art instructor, art professor, whatever, the entire time that I've been a professional artist. Okay. So this is for the first time ever, aside from me painting, the first time ever I'm walking into a job and I don't feel like I'm at a deficit here. I feel like I have more to offer than what's being asked of me, and I have to keep it within the limitations of what I'm being told to do.
I know the struggle.
That's a hard thing, right? Yeah. Because I want to have some very long conversations with my students about where they want to go, what they want to be, how they want to do it, and try to help them.
I love this idea. I mean, this keeps coming up as I interview more people. This whole we lift as we rise, and the fact that we really do feel that responsibility, and we're acting on it.
Yeah,
that's commendable. So can we call you Professor Paint now?
Sure. Dre B teaching.
Dre B teaching. What institution is that?
Tunxus Community College. So it's actually CT State Tunxus. So the state community colleges are now one large organization versus a bunch of separate entities. And so it's technically Connecticut State Community College.
Okay. All right. That's great. I know you have an exhibit coming up in February.
Yep.
You just did an exhibit here at the 224.
So yeah. So that was something I curated here. So a part of my job here is to curate art shows, and develop and host arts programming. Or if people have like an idea that is related to the arts, they will come to me and we talk about it and we make it happen.
Okay. What was the theme of that?
That was Art for Healing. That was a cool show because it's the second time in a row that we were able to host an exhibit in partnership with New England Donor Services. They help facilitate the process of people getting transplants.
Okay.
And they approached us last year about wanting to do an art event, and they said, "Hey, we'd like to do an art show, and we want to sponsor it."
Okay.
And that just led to a conversation. I said, "Hey, well, we got space on the calendar. Let's make something happen."
We were talking about how these things happen. Right? Just interacting, making sure that you're around. I mean, you're clearly around all over the place, talking to folks. I'm experiencing the same thing. Just this idea that when you're immersed in community, and you give to community first, right? Things kind of come full circle, and you don't go into it in a transactional way, but it tends to. That's how the energy flows. Is that how you're experiencing it?
Yeah, I think people who struggle at what they're doing, especially creatives who are struggling, they don't understand the value of collaboration and working collectively
Right.
to make things happen.
Yes.
They often struggle because they don't want to work with anybody or they think it should come to them.
Because we're taught to be individualistic.
Exactly. We're taught to be
Right.
individuals
That's the whole,
who work in silos and all that, right? There's nothing wrong with being an individual and having your own personality, but you also need to know how to play well in the sandbox.
Right, right.
And if you can't do that, you will not get far. You'll get somewhere, but you are going to definitely hit a wall at some
There's
point.
a wall, absolutely.
And what I found is with my desire to include service to others as a huge part of my work, whether it be in any official capacity, working for an organization, or on a personal level, or in my own business, I have been exposed to a lot more opportunities.
Okay.
I get speaking engagements because of that. I get opportunities to teach workshops because of that. I have been asked to teach a class in a community college because of my reputation doing that.
Yeah.
I run a fellowship, right? That is in alignment with my mission. By doing that work here and aligning that with the work that I do outside of here, I get other opportunities that have made it possible for me to thrive. You have to build a network. And the way you build a network is showing up authentically and showing up willing to give as much as you take.
And consistently.
Yep, and being consistent.
Yeah, keeping your word.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm experiencing the same thing. I'm at a different starting point, but I mean, everything you say is valid. Let's talk about one more thing. This Harlem exhibit.
So Harlem Fine Art Show. So I'll tell you how I found out about the Harlem Fine Art Show, because I don't believe in coincidence. And the timing of this couldn't have been more perfect. When I first found out about Harlem Fine Art Show, I had picked up a new client and they paid me in full. I was supposed to be, setting up a situation where I get paid for this thing for a good while, and there'll be like a check coming in and all this stuff, but I get this lump sum, and now all of a sudden I have this money that I can do things that I've never done before. Harlem Fine Art Show started popping up on my social media feed, and it kept showing up. And so what I ended up doing was I looked into it, of course. I checked it out. Turns out it's the premier Black art fair in the country.
Okay.
And it's been around for a long time. This year was their 17th year. They're going into the 18th next year. And I was able to pay for the early pricing to get a booth. Now, this is a very expensive venture for the average person. Had this not happened with this client, I would not have had the money to do this at all.
So that connection gave you access.
Exactly.
To it. And it sounds like it's a pretty prestigious.
It is very prestigious. There's about 100 artists who participate in it. There are galleries from all over the country. It's attended by people from all over the world.
Okay.
And it has a long history. It's a thing that has it has grown quite a bit, has quite a story behind it, and quite a brand behind it, quite frankly. But what solidified my decision to participate in Harlem Fine Art Show this year was when I spoke to a mentor, and she told me she did it with a mentor of hers. This mentor of mine is in Smithsonian's. She's done all kinds of dope projects as an artist, and she's in museums everywhere. Like this lady is like real deal.
Right.
She says she went with her mentor. So if she's going with her mentor must be like amazing, right? This must be somebody who's definitely solid, because why would they go to this event?
Of course.
If they weren't of a certain status or whatever, right? the thing that stood out to me was she told me she sold out of her stuff. This is a lady. She's a quilter, and she's selling quilts for a lot of money.
Okay.
Right? So this told me that this is probably a place that's attended by serious collectors.
Okay.
People who have disposable income, but also people who truly appreciate the arts and understand its significance, especially in our culture. When she told me that, I waited a little while, and then I just pulled the trigger and made the decision to go. Fast forward to February. Now, this was back in July of 2024.
Okay.
Fast forward to February of this year. I attend the Harlem Fine Arts Show. I hang my work. I go solo, by the way, which is crazy. Talk about doing things scared. I was nervous as hell. I'm there solo. I'm in New York.
Wow.
I'm in this event and I don't know anybody. I don't know what to expect or anything. All I know is I got a 10 by 10 booth. I needed to fill it and I need to be ready to have some conversations with people. And that is exactly what I did. They placed me next to this gallery where the gallery owners were amazing people, a nice couple. They're from Harlem. And it was so cool talking to them. The guy's wife, her name is Phyllis. My mother's name was Phyllis.
Okay.
So I felt maybe there's a little a presence there. Yeah. Right. And they were giving me like pointers and stuff. They were teaching me some things while I was there. And then the artists that they represent were there as well. So the artists they had on display with them were telling me little things off to the side or whatever about some of the people that were passing through the booths. And I would have conversations with folks. Next thing you know, when an artist is tapping on the shoulder, like, yo, you know who that is?
Yeah.
That's a major collector right there.
Wow.
This is so-and-so, whatever. Now, mind you, I don't know any of these people. I'm just talking to folks. I'm trying to draw attention to my booth because I want to sell something.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, but I also want to make my money back.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm there for networking too. So I also understood that this is the type of thing where you invest, and making your money back is a good goal to have, but you also need to be aware of the fact that you are going to be in the room with some major people.
Okay.
It would be in your best interest, at least the first time around, to make sure you meet those people and have discussions with them and do some networking, because that's going to be more valuable than the money you spent on being there. And so, although I did make a good amount of my money back, I made some valuable connections. People who I would later realize that I'm going to circle back with and be in some business discussions with. Right. So it's worked out, right? And I had such an amazing time being around so much culture, amazing art, amazing people, blah, 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 that I decided immediately after leaving, I need to come back. But it costs a lot of money to come back. So I need people to come with me. So I'm going to bring 5 artists with me.
That's all. We live as we rise.
Exactly.
There you go.
See, I didn't see any Connecticut artists have a presence in any of the booths. Okay. I was there as a solo artist, also representing my state.
Okay.
Little did I know that was going to be the case.
Okay.
I ran into Connecticut artists who were attending. They bought a ticket to go, but they weren't in the booth. And so that made some click in my head, like, okay, maybe they're not really paying attention to Connecticut like that.
Yeah.
We got to show them that Connecticut artists are dope, right?
Away.
So I think it was like maybe 2 months after the event, I'm contacted by folks on the team, and I let them know I definitely plan on going back. Now, they were interviewing artists in the booths and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about my interview in a minute. And I let them know I was planning on going back. And I said, I'm going to bring 5 artists with me, and I want a double booth. Expensive as hell for a single booth, right. Okay? I said, I want a double because I have so many artists with me, and I want them all to get equal exposure, and I want it to be enough exposure so that it's memorable for the people who see their work, right?
How'd they respond?
I don't think he believed me when I spoke to the founder. At least I don't think he believed me at first.
Okay.
So I'm talking to the founder of the event, and I believe there's a couple other people on his team that were in some of these discussions too. And I say, yeah, I want a double booth. I'd like to definitely come back. This was an amazing experience, blah, blah, blah. And so we set it up so that I can start making payments. And I decided we're gonna fundraise because this is mad pricey.
Yeah.
And as I'm recruiting the artists, because I didn't have the artists ready at the time I told this guy, I just said, look, this is what I'm gonna
That's
do.
how it goes.
And I went and did it.
Yeah.
I recruited 5 artists who are willing to invest on their own, out of their own pocket, to make this thing happen. Now, it doesn't cost as much as what I spent, but it's clearly attainable. It's achievable, right? You can put this money in to at least secure the booth. Okay. And that's what we did. We set out to do that. And so we were able to pay for the booth within a week of the deadline to get the early pricing. We all invested. I got some early sponsorship from the 224 because one of my fellows is going with us.
Okay.
And so we sponsor her booth fee. Then once that's paid for, like there's no guessing whether or not I'm about my business and I'm gonna keep my word. I did exactly what I said I was gonna do. Right?
That's the best way.
Exactly. This
Yeah.
man got his bread. There's trust here.
Yeah.
Now, during this time, there were conversations that I would be having with him every now and then. Most of the time, because he's calling me to make sure I make a payment. But I tell him, look, man, I'm paying you as the money comes in.
Yeah.
You will get your payments.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly what I did. And we made that happen. Now, this, I think, impressed him. And, well, I know it impressed him. And now I'm working on an opportunity with them.
Okay.
So in the near future, I have a very strong feeling that I'll be collaborating with the Harlem Fine Art Show.
That's amazing.
And not just as a presenter or exhibitor, rather.
I know that you feel it, how amazing that is. And I just want to recap. You broke through the fear. You went and did something again that you weren't aware that you were going to be able to do.
I've never fundraised for anything before.
You talked to that first time. You talked to folks that you hadn't talked to before. Figured out that there were major players there, and now you're paving the way for other artists to have access to that world. That's exactly how it should happen. I commend you for that.
Thank you.
That is an amazing thing. And you know, very soon, other people are gonna go being like, "That's Dre B Paintin, right? That's Andre Rochester."
When this thing works out, I think there are going to be some people in our state who are going to really take notice. They know of my name and they know some of the things that I've been doing, and they're aware that I'm an emerging, not just, I can't even call myself emerging artist. I've been doing it 18 years. So I'm not really an emerging artist, but I'm an emerging arts leader. Right. I think that as long as this thing works out the way that it's looking like it's about to work out, they're going to take me very seriously.
Well, I can attest to the fact that you're thorough. You keep your word. You show up. I reached out to you cold. I found out later that I knew your big brother, but I reached out to you cold, and we talked. I told you I was going to show up. I showed up, and since then it's been a reciprocal thing, and it's just an example of how these things are supposed to work. I've been reading The Art of Possibility and how hard it is to break out of the world of measurement, right, to a world of possibility where there is no measurement, where we realize that it's all just invented, and we can decide to invent our own story. And I think that's applicable to you and your story. Just to wrap it up, a couple questions. One, I got feed the people tattooed to my wrist for a reason. How do you feed the people? If you were just sum it up in a statement or two.
I feed the people by ensuring they are prepared to be in a position to be fed.
Okay. I love that. What's your favorite sound?
My favorite sound?
Yeah.
Funk.
Funk music. Who's your favorite artist?
My favorite artist, like visual artist?
Yeah. No. You said funk.
Oh, my favorite funk
Yeah,
artist?
yeah.
I mean, you can't not say George Clinton.
Okay,
But
all right.
I mean, there's a long list of funk artists out there.
Yeah.
You got Zapp and Roger Troutman. You got the Meters. You have James Brown, who invented funk. You got
Right.
Bootsy Collins, Maceo, Prince. Right? There's so many different people that fall within the funk category. All of them having their own sound, but the people who perfected funk music was Parliament.
Of course,
Parliament Funkadelic.
Yeah.
Right?
Bootsy Collins.
Mhm.
All right. So, last thing is, what advice would you give to someone who's trying to break into that realm of possibility, who's trying to be their own guide, and get out from the umbrella, from under the umbrella?
Do the work, stay consistent, and make a decision about who and what you want to be,
Perfect.
because it's your decision.
Perfect. I appreciate you coming up to the halftime
Yeah,
podcast.
thank you for having me.
And I know we'll continue to
Oh, yeah.
collaborate.
Definitely.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you. This is halftime.